right? I want to get high. Well, that don't get us high. We just want to get high, right? We don't know how to get high. So I'm not going to go ask people that don't get high, how do we get high? They don't know how to get high, right? I'm going to ask like my older cousin because he gets high. Hey, how do you get high? He says, come on down to the field and I'll show you tonight how we get high. And he shows me shit. He shows me how to get booze off the rummies up the street. He shows me how to get weed off down there. He shows me how to roll a joint. And I learn these things. Why? Because I'm interested in it. I believe it's what I need. I start trusting in these things. Well, boy, so now I start learning. Now I can get high. I wanted to get high in the beginning, but I had to learn to get high. Same with getting clean. It's the same thing. I want to get clean. All right, good. Now go learn how to get clean. Just wanting to get clean don't get you clean. Wanting to get high don't get you high. You've got to do some stuff afterwards to make these kinds of things happen. So you don't ask somebody that's never been clean, how do you get clean? That's like asking somebody that never got high, how to get high. You're not going to get no good information. So you find people out there that are clean who used to be just like you. You hear it in their stories when they tell their leads. And in these rooms, they're people just like you. Sometimes they're real similar to what we're like. And sometimes we can see in them what we want. And a lot of times in the beginning, it's a nice car, a nice house, a pretty wife, a good job, and those things like that. We want that. I want to do that, but I have to learn some things first, before I can do that. I got to do what they did, not what they're doing today. So I sponsor a lot of guys who want what I got. They like what I have. They like the spirituality that I got, the peace that I have, and they also like the fact that I have money. They like the fact that I have houses and I have, jobs, and I can make stuff happen in the community and all that. And I couldn't jump right here. I had to come these little steps all the way up. And same with them. And I remember exactly what I did to get where I'm at. And I can tell them, do these types of things and you'll get right where I'm at. If you do these types of things in the beginning, I can't tell you what to do now. You have to do these things first. And you'll grow into something like this. Eventually you'll grow into it. So that's the same with you guys. When you go out there, you grab a sponsor or somebody that's mentoring you. Sure, you want what they got, but you can't do what they're doing. You got to do what they did in the very beginning, which you can do. Because they were just like you in the very beginning. And the things they did, you can do. But the best part of that is, when I sponsor guys, they acquire everything I got faster. Like today, I got 10 years clean. My accountant the other day is getting scared because he says, you're handling almost $500,000 a year. That's what he's telling me. And he's like a small accountant. He wasn't ready for this thing to grow like it's grown over the last couple of years. I mean, it's just exploded with the highs and jobs. And I remember in the beginning, I didn't have money for cigarettes. I'd take the butts out of the butt cans at meetings. That's where I started at. But I listened to my sponsor. I wanted to get a job, right? Go to work right away. He said, no, you don't need no work. I mean, why? He goes, because a guy like you can always make money. You don't know how to stay clean. He said, you're going to learn this first. He said, once you learn this, he said, then you can go make money. You'll always be able to make money. And I didn't understand that. I wanted to make money. I was in a nasty basement at my sister's. I didn't have no money for cigarettes. I said, no, I need a job. He said, no, you don't need a job. He said, you need to do this stuff first. And I committed to listen to this guy. And I'm assured that this is what he did in the beginning. He volunteered and went to meetings and hard. He worked. He had a college education and all this stuff. But he didn't do anything as time went by. And then he started doing more. So I started doing what he did. I've been, after a month of going to meetings, around the clock, I'm going to all these meetings. I'm like, he said, well, you ready to do something new? Ready to do something different? I'm thinking a job. He goes, yeah. I go, yeah. I'm thinking, well, I can go to work now. He goes, you ever think of volunteering? I says, are you insane? You want me to go volunteer somewhere when I don't have money for cigarettes? You're out of your mind, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to go volunteer when I don't have no money. I'm not going to volunteer when I got money, but I certainly don't want to volunteer when I got no money. He said, either you're going to listen to me or you're not. He said, if you want to get another sponsor, go ahead. He said, but if you want what I got, you got to do what I did. So I did that. I'm volunteering in soup kitchens, scrubbing dishes, and bumming cigarettes off the people coming into the soup kitchen, right? Because I don't have any money. I'm borrowing money off my mom, like, hey, Mom, let me $50. She goes, I'm not giving you no more money. She said, you made millions of dollars when you're high as a kite. Now you're sober and clean, and you got almost 2 years, and all you want to do is work in soup kitchens. She said, you better get a job. I said, my sponsor said I can't get a job yet. She goes, he's crazier than you. You better get a job. And I'm doing it. I'm broke as can be, but I started feeling good. See, you got to humble me. I had to get humble. I started feeling good because of the actions I was doing. I was doing all these good things in the community, so I couldn't help but feel good. I didn't have no money, but I felt good. And that wears on me today. But I'm going to just do this and you can talk. I was watching my sponsor, you know, and I meet him when he's got 40 years sober, got $1 million business, a beautiful wife and a beautiful house. He's very humble, and I want that, right? So I got to do what he did. So I'm doing what he did along the way. And he's put me through all kinds of changes, humbling me time after time after time, because I'm listening to him, doing shit I don't want to do, shit I don't understand. And then I get his whole story. When he had 20 years sober, he was still living in a sleeping room on welfare, bumming money off his mom. Now, I didn't know that when I got him as my sponsor. I had no idea that that's what this guy did. So I'm thinking, I gotta do this shit for 20 years, like what I'm doing now, volunteering and shit. And I said, I'm not gonna do it. You know what I mean? I gotta get a new sponsor. There ain't no way I'm gonna do this shit for 20 years like he did. I'm sure he got $1 million business on it. Dad, I got like 6 months of this shit in. I'm feeling good. You know what I mean? But like, I can't do it. I'm thinking of getting another sponsor. And I had a dream one night. In a dream, God Almighty wants to borrow $50 off me in my dream. No, I give it to him because he's God. Like, I don't like to give money out to people, but since it's God, I gave him $50 because he's God. I thought, boy, that was weird, right? A week later, I have the same exact dream. God wants to borrow $50 off me. I tell him, no, I'm done with you. And I wake up. I'm like, holy shit, you're going to go to hell. I got God money. That's got to be a sin not to lend God money, right? And I said, this is odd. So I go to my sponsor. I said, Gene, I had these dreams that are driving me crazy. What do you think? He said, he's rubbing his little beard. He goes, God wants to borrow $50 off you. He said, the next time God pesters you for money, he said, you tell him to go get a job like everybody else. I said, no, he won't tell God to go get a job when he wants money. He said, no, it's time for you to get a job. He said, I want you to go to my wife's company. She had a big furniture business. He said, she's having a lot of trouble with her employees. You go join up with her and try to help her out. So I get on this Krew. First time I've worked in a couple of years. I'm getting paid like $8 an hour. And I'm on this Krew. And all these guys that work for her, including her own son, were milking her dry, screwing her jobs up, running up the timesheets, all this shit. And me, I'm trying to help. So I'm trying to work, do good for her. And they all hate my guts, right? So they take me into the office, all them against me. Like, we got to get rid of him, he's no good, he's this, he's that, and all that. There was like 7 of them and me. And she listened to both sides of the story, and she thought for a minute, and she said, yous are all fired. She fired all of them and kept me. She said, no, you go get me some people to get these jobs done. And I went right back to the rooms of recovery. And I started picking this guy and that guy and this girl and that girl. And we started doing these jobs where it was a lot of furniture delivery. Like, we bring tractor trailers in, put the furniture together and put them in the offices. So we had to be coordinated. And because we had recovery, we lit her company up. We lit it up, and I started working. Little by little by little, things started progressing. We got a weed whacker and a mower. Then we had a car with a donut. Then we got a pickup truck. Then we got a couple more guys. Then we started doing some more remodeling. And then it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was like 15,000, 30,000, 90,000, 180,000. Each year it seems to be getting bigger. Now, as time goes by, it was 300-something thousand last year. It should be close to $500,000 this year. And I got 10 years, right? I'm coming up on 10 years in March. Now, my sponsor, when he had 20 years, he was in a sleeping room on welfare, bumming money off his mom. In 10 years, I'm handling $500,000. You know why the difference is? Anybody know why? Why I'm so much farther ahead? When he had 10 years, he was still a bum. Now, how did I get so much farther, so much faster? Am I smarter?
You did what he told you.
Ah, exactly. I followed his footprints down the path. Why wouldn't I get there quicker? Every time I'm ready to step off the path, he's there, don't step there. It's quicksand. And me, I'd listen to him. I wouldn't step there. When he said do this, I did it. When he said do that, I did that. And I did this and I did that. And I moved ahead to this point now where I'm at. Well, we got a kid last night who was a me who followed me. Well, this kid, he's got a little over 2 years, right? He bought a house off me already. He showed us pictures. He had a 10-day vacation in Taiwan because his business is doing that. Or Thailand, or whatever it was. Now he's going to Aruba in 2 weeks. But he only got 2 years clean. Like, when I had 2 years clean, I was saying butts out of the butt can. And I know he's smarter than me. He's a goof. How did he get so fast, so quick? Because he listened to somebody else in front of him. He followed the footprints. And that's what I'm encouraging you guys to do too. Whoever you're trying to follow after, whoever you're trying to emulate, right? You'll get there quicker than they did if you listen to them. But if they tell you to do something and you don't do it, then you're in trouble. Hey, my sponsor, like he said, call me every day. He said, you understand what every day means? I use the same thing with him. Look up every day in the dictionary. So when I tell you, call me every day, you understand what that means. Not once in a while, not when you feel like it, not if it's convenient, every day. Now, I got to make a decision. Am I going to listen to this guy or am I going to listen to myself again? And when I listened to myself, I got where I got when I was 50 years old and it wasn't too good. So anyways, I wanted to talk about Jimmy and I wanted to talk about sponsorship a little bit, and I want to let Shawna have some time. She gets nervous when I start talking. She thinks maybe I won't leave her no time to talk.
Because he loves talking.
Yes, I do love talking.
Yeah, he does say good stuff.
Yeah, oh, thanks, Shawna.
He just likes to hear himself talk sometimes.
Yeah, I do love to hear. That's why I love this. Some people always say, oh, I hate to, you'll go to a meeting and they'll tell you, oh, I hate doing this, but I'll do it because then they asked me to do it. Don't, it's bullshit. If they're a real addict, they love talking about themselves. That's more self-centered. You know what I mean? The two things I like to talk about is recovery and me. You know. So, anyways, let's just take a second and we'll pray for all the ones that are out there. You know, use whatever you use. Like I want you guys, you know, during a silent prayer, to pray for somebody that you want in here, and also I want you to ask your higher power, whatever you're using today. Sometimes it's a doorknob or Spider-Man or God or the Lord or Jesus or Buddha, whatever it is that you're asking. Ask your higher power to please let you hear something during the next hour or so. And you guys will. And then we'll say the serenity prayer together and pull together as a little team. You know, Shawna and I were having a conversation last night about who's more important, right? Me or her, right? And obviously it's me, you know. It depends on where we're at. You know, here, right, with you guys, you know, Shawna has the story that you guys can emulate and listen to. Because she was in this facility right here. She knows these rooms. She knows what these rooms look like. She knows what the smoke tent's like. She knows this place, right? And she isn't that far removed. Where she's at, you guys can see from where you're sitting in these couches. I mean, it might seem like a long shot, but she's on fire. Like what's happening in her life and the way things are turning out isn't because it was an accident. It's not because she had great luck. It was because she wanted it, and she went for it. She took the steps and made the moves and listened and took suggestions and did the things she had to do. And for me to sit back and watch that blaze, you know, that's going on and be part of that roaring fire, you know, it's just wonderful. So today at this place, she's more important than I am. And I hate to admit that. I have to be humble, but she is. Because her story is something that you guys can all relate to right now today. And her recovery is something that you guys, I'm sure, if you just listen, can envision yourselves doing something just like her. So Shawna's going to tell us her story and some other things. And I want everybody to give her a little warm round of applause before she starts.
I did learn a lot from him, you know, like, I met him at like 90 Days Clean, and you know, he made suggestions. Well, why don't you come volunteer with us, or why don't you come help make food? And like, I didn't have anything else better to do, so I was like, sure. And then I just kept doing it, and then, you know, my life has improved as I've helped other people. So like, he does have a lot of good stuff to say. It's just like, I hear him talk all the time. My name's Shawna, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Shawna.
And my clean date is 1/8/19. So I'm just over a little over a year clean. And like you said, I started off here at Alpine Springs. I was here this time last year. And but like, you know, all the way, when I look back all the way to the beginning, like I had addict tendencies, you know, from childhood. Like I was the oldest child of 3. My parents are still married. They'll be married for 33 years. My dad was an alcoholic till I was about 15. And like, I always remember, you know, like taking his beer cans and trying to take this last sip out of it, you know, to see what it tasted like. Or like at family parties when my parents would be like doing shots. My mom's family didn't really drink very much, but when they did, I would be trying to like dope feed them, like, give me some of that alcohol, let me try it, like, oh, can I get more? But you know, like, I had a good childhood. Like, my parents did everything that they could to like provide for us, so I can't say that, like, you know, I came from a terrible childhood and that's why I'm an addict and blah. I can't say any of that, because, you know, I had like a great childhood. And then I was really involved with band in school. I stayed really busy. I did well in school. I got good grades. My parents were strict and kept a pretty close eye on us, you know, and like I didn't really drink, and I didn't do any drugs in high school. And I graduated with honors, and I was gonna go to school up in Buffalo to be a doctor of physical therapy. And then when I graduated, I had worked in high school, but I got a full-time job after I graduated. And then I got in with a group of people that you know, they liked to party. They were a little older than me, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try it too. And like from day one, I was like, I wasn't just like 1 foot in, 1 foot out drunk. I was like all the way in, blacked out, you know, a complete mess, making a fool of myself. They actually gave me the nickname like Shawna over time, drunk and dramatic Shawna, because I was like that girl that was like, and getting drunk and like just way over the top. But so I started drinking in the summer before I went to college, and then I went to school, and I was like, I'm free, and I started drinking every day, and I never went to class, and I'm paying a lot of money for a really expensive party, like 20 grand for this 3 semesters in college, that like all I did was go and drink. I either went downtown, or I was at frat parties, or drinking in my dorm room by myself or with my roommates, or, you know, there's ways and means to get more, and like I wasn't even 21 and I found a way to get alcohol. Then I started smoking weed when about a month into school, because I was like, I want to try that. And then I just like, you know, got by the skin of my teeth. And I went to 4-year school for 3 semesters, never went to a class, just kept enrolling. And then I failed out of there. And then I went to a community college for a semester in Buffalo, and I failed out of there because I never went to class. And I signed up for school in Erie at a tech school for medical assistant, and I went there, you know, but then like 2 months in, it was like 25 days before I turned 21. I was home for the weekend. My parents were out of town. I went and had some drinks with friends. I was like, I'm going home, and my taillights were out and I didn't know it, and they pulled me over, and I got my first DUI and underage. I didn't go to jail, but I did get arrested and released from the police station. But like, if I had taken that as a consequence, you know, I might have learned from it. But I was like, I just got unlucky because my taillights were out. You know, like they popped me this time and got me because I was just, you know, unlucky, and I should have checked it before I left. But so I was still going to school in Erie. I got put on ARD because that was my first offense, and I just drank and smoked weed the whole time. My probation officer never checked on me. I just kept going to school, and then when I completed there, I moved home. I completed ARD, paid off all my fines, and I was living with my parents, and I was working at a bar, and a week after I got off of probation, I found out I was pregnant. Now, I met my kid's dad at the bar, and he was 15, and I was 22, and, you know, I wasn't making rational decisions, but his dad was giving him drugs to sell, and I had money, and that's how we first got hooked up, and then we were just having fun, and then, you know, life comes, you know, and when you have, you know, as we all know, because we're adults, when you have unprotected sex, things happen, and, you know, I got pregnant with my kid's dad when he was 15, and then he turned 16 shortly after, and, like, we kept it, like, secret. His family didn't even know he had a kid until she was 3 months old, and, like, when I was pregnant with all my kids, I used, you know, like, I can't lie and say that I didn't, and because that's part of, like, my honest, like, being honest and working an honest program, you know, but when I did a timeline of my addiction, from being pregnant with the first to being pregnant with my fourth, the progression is there. Like, with my first, you know, I thought it was a big win that I didn't drink. And I didn't drink with any of my pregnancies because I know that alcohol can be bad, but, like, drugs can be just as bad. And I'm just, I'm grateful that, like, I was blessed to have kids that were healthy, you know, because, like, things could have turned out differently. But, you know, with the oldest, I smoked weed a lot, and then I did some pills. With the second pregnancy with my twins, I did more pills, and with the fourth one, my last pregnancy, like, I did drugs the whole way through, and, like, I couldn't have stopped if I wanted to, you know, because, like, once we open that door of addiction, we don't have a choice to quit when we want to. And, like, I really didn't think I had a problem at the time, so, but, so, I'm pregnant with my oldest daughter. She's born in September 2011, and, me and her dad are, like, you know, seeing each other, kind of, like, not officially, and when she's 6 months old, he gets physical with me for the first time, and, over the course of the 7 years that we were together, the abuse got worse and worse and worse, but I always justified it, like, he never hit me, you know, like, he would choke me and push me around and be mentally and emotionally and verbally abusive to me, but, like, I just tried to, because I was codependent, like, I didn't want to be alone, and I wanted my kids to have a intact family. And, you know, when you hear domestic abuse, you think, like, you know, black eyes and stuff, and that wasn't my story. But so, she's 6 months old, he gets physical with me, you know, every time we ever got in a fight, when the cops were called, we both got harassment charges, so I saw myself as being, like, an equal participant in it, not like a victim. And, I was, like, you know, always trying to make it work, you know, and he would treat our relationship like catch and release, you know, he would catch me, reel me in, take me off, throw me back out, and then it was like a game to him, where it was like, because he knew that, like, I wanted to make things work, and, like, he was young, but that's not an excuse, you know, for the progression of how things went with him. But that was another reason why I kind of, like, you know, let him off the hook sometimes. He's young. But I didn't deserve any of that, you know, like, so, we're together. When our daughter was 4, you know, I drank and did drugs in between, you know, after she was born, and, before I got pregnant again, and, he lived at his parents' house, I lived at mine, so when things get bad, I go to my parents' house, and when we would fight, you know, like, we didn't talk for a couple of weeks, and then we'd come back together, because I had the money and he had the drugs. It was like a perfect match. you know, like the fairy tale, right? You know, you never read the book about the fairy tale of the drug dealer and his like side piece or whatever you want to call me. So, when she's 4, we are kind of like on and off. Started seeing somebody else because I got tired of his shit, and I felt bad for him. And then he got me pregnant again, and this time it was twins. So like I tell the other guy, I'm like, I can't see you anymore. I know they're. I think it's a sign that we're meant to be together. And like I was pregnant with our boys, was the best time in our relationship. He was never physical with me. He doted on me. He was excited to have 2 sons. And so he was there and present for that pregnancy. He wasn't there for the first one, and he wasn't really there for the 4th one, or for the 3rd one. So I'm still living at my parents' house, but like I save up some money. And then when our twins are 2 months old, we want to be a family, so I take the money I had saved up and got us an apartment together so that we could live together with our 3 kids. And he had a full-time job, and I had a full-time job. So we move in together, and when we're under one roof and I don't have my sanctuary to go back to at my parents' house, I'm like right under his thumb, and the abuse is worse than ever. And my drinking gets worse, you know, because like I don't want to deal with how I feel when he's abusive to me physically and verbally and mentally. Like, you know, that's why I'm an addict. Like my problem wasn't the drugs, that was my solution to the problem. Like my problem was like I don't want to feel the way I feel. And you know, even as a child, like when my dad was an alcoholic, he would like tell me to suppress my feelings, not express myself. So I learned how to isolate and suppress feelings at a really young age, probably like 4 or 5 years old. So when I picked up the first one, you know, that was another way of like, you know, suppressing those feelings. So we lived together for about 5 months, and it was I got pregnant, and then 2 weeks later I had a miscarriage, and then 2 weeks later he's sitting in the living room underneath the room where our boys are sleeping in their cribs upstairs with a shotgun in his mouth. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So the next day I call my mom and I tell her like I gotta get out of here. She comes and picks up my kids and takes a load of my stuff. When he gets home with my car, I load up another load of my stuff, and then a couple days later I got the rest. And I left him. And from the moment that like I left him, like he didn't talk to me. And then 2 weeks after I moved out, this girl calls me and says that he cheated on me 3 days before I decided to leave. I didn't know that at the time. And I go to confront him about it, and then he's like, I love you, can't we work this out? You know, like, he doesn't talk to me for 2 weeks, but as soon as I find out that, like, he cheated on me, he wants me back. Because that was always his pattern, like, throw me out and reel me back in. And I'm like, yeah, we can work it out, you know, like a dumbass. I'm like, sure. And then I get pregnant again. And I didn't tell my parents until I was like 14 weeks along that I was pregnant with a 4th child to this guy that like didn't even take care of the other 3, because I was so full of shame at the thought of it. But like, I can't change it. Like I believe in choice, you know, with women. You know, if you get pregnant and you don't want it, it's your choice to do what you want with it, you know. But I couldn't do that myself. So I kept my babies, you know, every time that it happened, unless nature intervened. And I'm 14 weeks along. I start having some complications. My twins were like, 7 months old when I get pregnant the second time, or the third time, and so I think it was harder on my body. And in the meantime, he decides that he wants to start dating this girl that he had cheated on me with. He wants to see if that relationship can work, because he knows he has me on the line again. So I live at my parents' house. He lives at his sister's house. He's dating this other girl. I got on like a HUD list to get my own apartment with my kids. And like when my name came to the top, I found a place, and me and my 3 kids moved in, and I'm like 6 months pregnant, and we have our own place together, just me and my kids at the time. And then like him and his girlfriend start having problems, and I'm the one that he comes to, and I'm like, well, you can move in here. And this is just before our youngest daughter was born. I let him move in with me, and then she's born, and he's there living with me to help out with the kids, because at this point I have a 5-year-old, 1-year-old twin boys, and a newborn, and I work a full-time job. And so like I go back to work, and I sign up to get my tubes tied, because I don't want any more kids. And I'm like 2 weeks postpartum, or 2 months postpartum, and I go into the surgery room. They get me all prepped up, and he's there, and he's like, let's just leave and have number 5. And I'm like, can we get this show on the road? Because like I got 4 kids with this guy that he don't even take care of them. Like he quit his full-time job. He only had a job in the 7 years we were together for maybe 6 months. So I'm like financially and physically responsible for my kids. Like he didn't take any responsibility for them ever. And but I go through with the surgery, and then the next day I didn't take off of work, so I went to work. I couldn't go through with the day. I was in too much pain. He had my car, and I called him to come pick me up, and he said he'd come. And then I worked at Rent-A-Center, and I fell asleep in a recliner on the showroom floor, and 2 hours later I wake up and he's still not there. And I called him again, and then I ended up walking like 1.5 miles home the day after I have surgery, and up a hill, and have to sit on my front porch until he gets home. And then I just sit there and wait for him. And then when he gets home, he wants to like fight with me, but I started getting high. And then later that night, we went and picked up my mom had one of my boys, so we picked up my oldest daughter and my other younger 2, and we got them home. We got them ready for bed. We put them upstairs, and this is October of 2017. After we got the kids in bed, when he was dating the other girl, he started using meth. And up to that point, like me and him had never used it together. But at this point, when he was like, when I had my surgery, he had already been up for 3 days. And so he wanted me to leave my kids with him the next day, and I didn't think that was a good idea. So I called my family and was making alternate arrangements for the next day, and he heard me on the phone, and he got mad, and then we started to get into an argument, and then that's where he took my cell phone, and then he put a knife to my throat, and he put a pillow over my face, and he choked me, and then it went to the floor where he was strangling me with his hand over my mouth and my nose, so I couldn't breathe or make noise. And like, he knew he could overpower me because 1, he's bigger than me, and 2, I was already under the influence, and I wasn't at my top physical condition because I just had surgery the day before. So he's on top of me for a couple of minutes, and then he gets off, and then it turns into like I'm not allowed to move off the couch. And we sat there for hours, where You know, he told me he was gonna tie me up to a chair and get my keys out of my purse and take the kids out of bed and put them in my car and be like, come on kids, we're going on vacation. Or like he was gonna kill me, you know. Those were just things that he threatened to do, and I wasn't gonna leave him there with my kids sleeping upstairs with him acting like that. Plus it's like my house, so I'm like, I am begging him to give me my phone back and to leave, and I won't call the cops, and he just won't. And after about 4 or 5 hours of sitting there, I remembered that my laptop was on the shelf, and at this point he was letting me move around a little bit. So I took my laptop off the shelf and I was out in the kitchen and I opened it up. I got 2 messages out to my friend on Facebook before he comes out and rips it off the table, and then he puts it under a couch cushion and sits on it. And then we get in another confrontation and he assaults me pretty much the same way he did the first time again. And the only thing that stopped him was that our oldest daughter had woke up during the scuffle and she was standing on the stairs watching, and he heard her up there, so he got off of me, and then we put her in bed. And you know, I didn't understand, and my daughter, she's only 5 at the time, she doesn't understand either why dad's hurting mom, you know, because she loves both of us equally. And so when my saving grace was when I got those 2 messages out to my friend, because like I couldn't contact outside of the house, you know, like I tried to go to the neighbor's house and knock on the door at one point in time, but like nobody was home, and he tried to lock me out of the house, so I wasn't leaving again. And so when she wasn't getting a response from me, she knew that something was wrong, so she started contacting all my family members and friends that she knew. And she actually contacted his ex-girlfriend, whose name was also Shawna. And she was like talking to her, and she's like, I know something's wrong, somebody needs to get her help. And he had been talking to Shawna, so my friend urged her to go to the police station, and she did. And she called him while the police were there with her, and he's bragging about what he just did to me. And so the police come up to my house and they knock on the door and they get me outside, and then when I tell them what happened, you know, they arrest him. And our oldest daughter, she had gotten out of bed again and she watched her dad be taken out in handcuffs. So that was really hard on her, and it was really hard on me. So then 3 days later, and this is the last time I talked to him, like 2.5 years ago, he calls me from jail to tell me that he loves me and he wants to be a family and want to go to court and say nice things about him. And I'm like, absolutely not. And this is the first time that I stood up for myself and was like, that's not love. We'll never be a family again. And I'm going to go to court and tell the truth. And he wasn't even supposed to be contacting me anyways, so that was the last time we have talked since then. And so this is October 2017, and I'm working full time, and I got my kids, and I have this horrible domestic assault that happened to me, and I'm really just hanging on by threads. And my use like increases. I'm drinking, I'm doing any drugs that I can get my hands on, and then a few months into it, you know, I'm an addict and I want to try whatever's around, and I try meth in about March of 2018, and then at the beginning of April of 2018, he has the sentencing, and he was in jail for about 3 months, and then he got bailed out. And then April of 2018, his scheduling is sentenced. I get up, I go to court, he doesn't show up. And then he's on the run for the weekend. On Monday, a bench warrant gets issued by the Crawford County Courthouse. And then they pick him up, and he's off the street. but like I could not get back on the wagon. Like I fell off the wagon because I was like afraid of why he would skip sentencing. And also like doing methamphetamine, like I was not mentally stable in any way. And so I held on for a couple of weeks, and then at the end of April I quit my full-time job that I'd had for 3 years. I went to the psych ward because I tried everything else except for like Narcotics Anonymous or AA before, or rehab even. And actually, when I went to the psych ward, went in there hot for like 5 different things, and they were like, "Have you ever thought about rehab?" And I was like, "Rehab? No, I don't have a drug problem. The only problem I have is when there's no drugs around." And so I just was in the psych ward for like 5 days, and then I get out, and then 2 days later is his sentencing. He got 15 months to 5 years in state to be served consecutively to any other charges still pending. And then actually in October 2018, he brought meth into the Crawford County Jail, and he got another 18 to 36 month sentence. So he's upstate for a long time. You know, and so he gets sentenced at the beginning of May of 2018, and I had just quit my job like a week and a half before that. So I signed up for school, and then at the end of May of 2018, Memorial Day weekend, my mom had my kids for the weekend, and she asked me to come and pick them up, so I did. I went up to her house. Me, her, and my sister get into an argument. I overreact a lot, you know, and went into like PTSD flashbacks, and I ended up breaking a window and, you know, taking all my little kids' clothes out of her house and putting them in my car, and stood there in the yard and waited for the cops to get there. And I was just really, really mad. I was super enraged. And when the cops got there, they went around and they interviewed everybody. And then when they came back around to me, they asked me to get my ID for them. So I went to go get it out of my purse, and I had some marijuana in there, so they smelled it, so they grabbed my purse and they dumped it out. I had a small amount of marijuana, a marijuana pipe, a hot rail tube, and a mirror. And they charged me with 3 felonies and 8 misdemeanors for my actions that day, and I ended up going to jail. And then when I was being booked in jail, I never been to jail, so they asked me all those questions, and they're like, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah." And they're like, "Take that jumper off and put a turtle suit on." So then I'm in solitary for 3 days, and when I get out, I got ROR'd. My public defender was like, "Go get a drug and alcohol evaluation. If they suggest inpatient, then do it." So I was like, well, I might have a drug problem. And I was like, I'm not even going to get the evaluation. I just signed up to go to rehab, and went to Co-Forge 5 days later. And that was where I had my first spiritual awakening. I was up there for like, it was the first Sunday I was up there. I went to church, and I'm in church listening to this guy speak. I don't even know what his story was. I can't remember it at all. But he's talking about May 11th is this big day in his life, and like that's my twin boy's birthday, so I'm instantly focused. And then, you know, afterwards I go up to him and talk to him. I'm really moved, and I'm crying, and I go outside, and literally there's a rainbow in the sky. And then next, I'm walking up to the smoke tent, and I notice a little heart in the sidewalk, and it's like a light bulb going off. They're like, God's been trying to get my attention for a long time. I just didn't pay attention. You know, because like under the influence of drugs and alcohol, it was like I was living in the darkness. And this was the first time I'd ever been clean in my entire adult life. So I'm up there, I'm moved, I complete the program. But I remember being there, and I was like, I'm not as bad as you, because I'm not homeless. I'm not as bad as you, because I don't use a needle. And I might be a little worse than you, and I'm not as bad as you, for, you know, just minimizing my own shit. And I come home and I still have a car in my apartment, and my mom, when I got ROR'd from jail, part of my bond conditions was no contact with my mom or my kids because they were considered victims of my actions that day. So, and my parents kept my kids because, like, when I got arrested, the cops gave me the option to put them in foster care or leave them with my family, and my family was willing and able to take care of my kids, so they kept them, which I'm grateful for today. And so I come back to my apartment in my car. I'm trying to go to meetings, and then I'm not really like taking it that seriously. And I meet this guy at AA, and he's just out of prison, and we're gonna go to meetings together. And then we didn't go to any meetings. We ended up at his friend's house, and they were shooting up, and I was like, can I try that? And that's when I started using a needle, and then I started selling drugs. And then within 4 months, my car got repoed. I got evicted from my apartment because I had a lot of activity in and out, and my landlord noticed it. And then I moved all my stuff in with this guy, and I lived with him for about 2 months, and I was selling drugs out of his house. And at the middle of December 2018, he just decided he didn't want me to live there anymore. I'm like, I don't understand. But I was probably a really hard person to live with because I was completely insane. And so he kicks me out, and like all I'm allowed to leave the house with was a duffel bag full of clothes. So I lost everything I owned, all my kids' stuff, all my stuff, some stuff I'd had since childhood. I didn't really have a choice. And like I would have had to hire a constable if I wanted to get my stuff, and I didn't have money. So like I ended up just leaving it behind. And I was at a homeless shelter, a women's shelter in Meadville for about 3 days. And then I called my mom, and I was like, I'm coming there, and you're gonna let me stay there. And she was like, I don't want you here. And I was like, you don't really have a choice. And then I get a ride, and I just show up at her house. And I was like, you're gonna let me stay here? Because I was entitled at the time. Like, I was like, I deserve this, and you don't have a choice. And you know, but looking back, you know, when they wouldn't let me stay at their house, they were done enabling me, which is exactly what I needed. And also, because when they were done enabling me, it forced me to make other decisions. And also, they were protecting themselves and my kids, because I was like a tornado taking out everything in my vicinity. Because I was just like out of control. So I was at their house for one night, and then her and my dad loaded my shit up in the van the next day, and they took me to town, and they dropped me off in Titusville because that's where I was living. And they were like, good luck. And then I got into a small women's shelter in Titusville, and I was there for about 2 weeks. And I was doing nothing. Like, I was like not enjoying or living life at all. It was just like trying to get the next one, you know, finding a way to get money or get something to trade to get more drugs. And at one point I was hanging out with my friend, and she was like, are you using? And I was like, yeah, but I can quit when I want. And she was like, well, why don't you come to the NA meeting tonight? So I went to the NA meeting, and there the topic was denial. And I was like, I might be in denial. And, you know, that was the day that I decided that, you know, I didn't really have anything left to lose besides my life. So I decided to go back to treatment again. And I started calling Alpine, and I had to wait 10 days for a bed here. But I was so tired of using in the life that, like, I called every day. They said, call back tomorrow, we'll let you know if we have a bed. And I ended up leaving the women's shelter because I didn't think it was going to take 10 days. When I went to Cove Forge the first time, it took 5. So I made my way from Titusville to Erie for New Year's, and my friend put me up in a trap house across the street from where he lived. And There was no running water there. We didn't have any food. It was just everybody trying to get high, and nobody had money, and everybody's fighting. And I remember being there, like, when I leave here, you guys will never see me again. Like, you make me never want to get high again. I used against my own will for like at least a week, when I decided that, like, I wanted to be done. But so I'm up there in this trap house for a whole week in Erie, and I'm just like praying, you know, let tomorrow be the day that they say I can come in. And so finally, after a week of calling every day, they said, call tomorrow, we'll have a bed for you. Call in the morning, we'll get your ride set up. I'd already been up for 3 days. I hadn't eaten in a week. We partied all night, and then at 7 o'clock in the morning, like, I got really tweaked out. Like, I was looking out the windows, and I was like, the government's here. And the people at the house were like, get your shit and out. And I was like, I don't even have a cell phone. And they're like, we don't care. So they put all my stuff on the front porch. And I went around to the back of the house, and I found a wheelbarrow sitting back there, and I loaded all my stuff in it because I had too much to carry. And I pushed it around the city of Erie looking for a place to use a phone. I was really looking for my friend's sister's house because that's where he was at, and he had a phone. But I could not find her house. And, like, the gas station wouldn't let me use the phone. A small business wouldn't let me use the phone. I'm pushing this wheelbarrow around in the city, and it's like sleeting rain, snow, and people are looking at me like, what are you doing? Because I look crazy. And I'm just pushing it around. And, you know, after 5 hours of pushing this around in the city, I'm like, I'm going to go to Walmart and switch this out for a shopping cart because I won't have to pull up on it. And I was really sore. And as I'm on my way to Walmart, I walk by this domestic violence shelter, and I go around to the back, and I knock on the door, and a guy answers, and I'm like, I'm homeless. I'm trying to go to rehab. I have a bed. I just need a place to use the phone. Can I come in and use the phone here? And he was like, because God puts people in our way, you know, when he knows that, like, we are, like, all that stuff, all those 5 hours of pushing that, I was like, why are you doing this to me, God? I'm trying to do the right thing. And when I look back on it, he was just trying to give me a memory and some pain that, like, I don't ever want to be back there, because I probably won't even have any stuff to push in a wheelbarrow if I go back out. And so the guy, when I tell him all this, he was like, absolutely, I'm in recovery too. So he lets me come in, and I use the phone, and within an hour I had a van there, and I donated the wheelbarrow to the shelter, and, like, I was off the street, and I fell asleep in the van on the way here. And when I got here, they did my intake, and then I came up here. I ate half a plate of food. I laid down at 7:30 at night, and I woke up at 7:30 the next morning. And they said they tried to wake me up, but, like, I was finally safe. I had a bed to sleep in, and, you know, I was just defeated. I got the gift of desperation before I even walked in these doors, because, like, you know, the progression of my addiction was just so devastating. Like, I was here, and I was, like, angry, but I was really just sad. You know, I was mourning the loss of my my addiction, you know, like, all that crutch that I always had was gone, and I was empty inside. And but I was grateful that, like, I didn't have to live out. I didn't have to be out there anymore. So I went through this program, and I decided to go to a halfway house, and I went to Cece's place in Braddock, which is how I got to Pittsburgh. Because, like, if I go back to Titusville, it's such a small area, and every, you know, all the people that I interacted with where either I'm buying drugs, selling drugs, or doing drugs with. And so I went to an area that I didn't know anybody. And I know my kids are safe and they're good, well taken care of. And like, when I had about 4 months clean, Gus suggested to me, because I was working for him, why don't you send your mom money every 2 weeks? And I was like, sure. So every 2 weeks, I sent my mom about $100, sometimes a little bit more. And, you know, at least I have, that helps me with my guilt and shame to know, like, I help, you know, at least a little bit take care of my kids as much as I can. Because I'm not ready for them to, like, be back in my care, because it's, like, super overwhelming with the 4 of them. But I'm getting there. The more time I get, the more patience I get, and the less overwhelmed I am when they're around. But so I went to the halfway house, and then I was still really impulsive. Like, when I was here, I was like that girl that, like, would not shut up. And they were like, you know, people would get mad because I was like talking about conspiracy theories and the government, and because like, if you want to fast track to insanity, methamphetamine will do that to you. And like, as my mind cleared a little bit, I realized that the government doesn't give a fuck about me. Like, they're not watching me, they're not following me. I don't have to be worried about like having the location on my cell phone, or taking my SIM card out. Those are all unrationable fears. And but that's where meth took my brain. And so I was at this halfway house for about 45 days, and I was really impulsive, and like I got in a little disagreement with the clinical director, and she was like, if you're so unhappy here, let's go fill out your discharge paperwork. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then I put myself on the street for like 3 days, and I stayed in a hotel, and then my sponsor had a 3-quarter house, and I went there, and I paid $450 a month to sleep on a top bunk in a room with 2 other people. And then I was only there for like 30 days. I jumped around a lot in my first like 90 days of recovery, and that was kind of hard because I went from treatment to halfway house to 3-quarter house, then to another 3-quarter house, where I finally got to settle in for a few months. And then I'd gotten a full-time job while I was at the first house, and I was going to outpatient 4 days a week because I knew that I needed more treatment. Like, I will never tell anybody that like 21 to 28 days of treatment and you're good. Like, go out there on the street and you'll be fine. Because like Gus said, you know, our problem is not the drugs. That's just a symptom of it. Our problem is like our actions, thoughts, and behaviors. Like, we have to learn how to change how we react to things, and like how we feel about ourselves. And I wasn't there yet. So I moved to another 3-quarter house, and the next day I met Gus. And like, I was burning myself out doing these 15-hour days. And I had always worked full-time for a long time. But like, working in active addiction for me was different than working in recovery, because I didn't have a crutch. You know, when I worked in active addiction, I used all day long, and I couldn't do that. And so Gus gave me a job working under the table for him. He runs a construction company, and I came in and I was like, you know, doing some gardening, or then it transitioned into like I started getting his bills together, because we have a lot of housing and we have a lot of bills, and it can be overwhelming for him. Plus he has all these people to manage. So I took over that, and then people started coming to him to because they wanted to go to treatment. And like, sometimes that can be really frustrating when somebody doesn't have insurance, or like when it's cold out right now. You know, a lot of places are full because some people use recovery as a winter sport, and like, for me, I use it as I want it for the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to go back there, because my life has improved so much in the last year that, you know, I see all the blessings that recovery has given me. You know, I have a great relationship with my mom that I never had before with her. I remember fighting with her from from the time I was a small child until, up until about a year ago, because she came to visit me here and I was fighting with her then still. And, well, today I don't even remember the last time I fought with my mom. And she takes good care of my kids. And then, I get involved with helping other people. And then I started getting a couple people into treatment, and then it started snowballing to where, like, in 4 or 5 months, I've gotten 50 or 60 people into treatment. And it's because I had to wait so long for a bed and be out in that environment for so long that, it drives me to get people off the street as quickly as possible. And even still, a month ago, we had a girl that she'd never been clean before. She called me. I was gonna set it up to pick her up the next morning, and then at midnight, and she was really excited. At midnight, her brother-in-law, who had given her my number, called me and said that she overdosed and died. And that was hard, because that was the first person I'd lost along the way, and I knew that she didn't want to be out there anymore. And then just recently, within the last on Saturday, we had a girl actually in one of our houses that she just got out of treatment. We didn't think about, having her do outpatient or influencing her to go to a halfway house. The facility she was at, she was done there in 2 days. And when they called us, and she needed a place to go, so we let her come into our house. And then on Saturday, the girls found her. She overdosed in the bathroom. It was too late. They did everything they could. They were giving her compressions. They Narcaned her 3 times, and she died. And she was 30 years old. And she's been incarcerated for the last 5 to 7 years of her life. And I had to call her mom, and that was really impactful for me, because one, her mom was devastated by it, but she wasn't shocked, because she told me that she's been waiting on that call for the last 10 years. And it made me think about my mom and what she would be like if she had to get that phone call. I don't want my mom to ever go through that. So it just drives me to help these people as quickly as possible. And we've even had times where we'll have people that are living on the street and it's cold out, and we'll put them up in our house for the night until we can get them in the next day. So, drugs aren't a joke today. They're not anything to mess around with. You could think maybe one more time and it's going to be the last one. And so, through the process of my recovery, I've just got really involved with helping other people. And also, with my charges, I took a plea deal. I didn't get any of the felonies, but they did give me a DUI, which it was my second, because my first one was 9 years before that. So I go to court. I even went to jail clean, because I went to court and they counted my inpatient here, and they counted the 3 days that I sat, but I had to have 4 more days to sit. So I went to jail clean. I got out of jail clean in Warren County, and then I was on house arrest for 60 days, and that was flew by, and with no problems, because one, I'm clean. I went on house arrest with 10 months clean, and then me and my probation officer got a rapport with each other, to where, he called me on Christmas to tell me how proud he was of me and wish me a Merry Christmas. And then on my year, he called me to ask me something, and then he goes on and on about how great I'm doing and to share my story. And that's only possible to not struggle on probation because I'm clean. I don't have to worry about it as long as I don't pick up anything. And I got 120 hours of community service at my sentence, and that's already done. I was already more than half done with it by the time I even got my probation transferred to Allegheny County, because I'm here doing the right things and I'm involved in some good stuff. So, you know, all I can tell you guys here is like, don't quit before a miracle happens, because you know, there's hard times. It doesn't mean that it's a terrible day. It's just a bad moment. And it's hard. You know, at 6 months clean, I almost used. I gave somebody money and they burned me. And then the next day when I woke up, I was more mad that they stole my money than I was that I didn't have drugs. But like, only by the grace of God did I stay clean, and I'm grateful that I did. And I never went and, you know, hunted the guy down, because I didn't really care about it. I don't want the drugs and I don't want the money back. But that's because, you know, I still didn't know how to deal with my feelings, and I'm still learning how to do that. Like, I can fly off the handle, I can, you know, be rude to people, and that's the behaviors that'll take me back out, because when I'm rude to somebody, then I feel full of guilt and shame. And he always tells us, you know, because girls can bicker, he tells us, like, it's a two-way street. When somebody hurts you, they're hurting themselves too. So I'm learning all these things as I go. But, you know, the first one is like, just don't take anything. You know, don't take the first one, because you lose a choice, for real. With this disease, when you open that door, and even times in here, I'm sure if you have people that are like, I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave, that's their disease trying to walk them out the door. And they don't even realize that. Like, you know, because your disease is talking to you in your own voice, and it's making everything seem like it's so glossy and rainbows and unicorns. And it's really a terrible idea, because it's just going to take you back to the dope man's house. But when I listen to other people and take suggestions, nothing anybody has suggested of me to do is as bad as like what these two hands did to myself. You know, like my own two hands tried to kill me, and they will try to kill me again if I don't just listen to other people and like run my ideas by my group of people that I have around me before I go and do it. Because I'm impulsive, and like I have more rational thinking today than I did a year ago, but it's still coming back. So that's all I got.
Sure?
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. It's getting better. I got a couple more minutes. I'm going to talk about the disease for a minute. Can I do that with you guys? You know, I'm going to show you who the disease is, all right? I'm going to teach you about it, okay? Your disease, he sounds good. Now, he's great. He's a liar, but he sounds so good. Smooth talker, right? It's like securing this building. Me and the disease. We're going to secure this building. Some put locks on the window, and I look over the disease. He's running 4-inch screws into the door. I'm like, damn, look at that dude, man. He knows what he's talking about. You know, I'm putting a thing on, he's putting bars on the window. I think, man, that son of a bitch got it going on. Me and him are going to secure this building, man. We got this thing down pat. Then we start walking down the driveway, and then left the basement door open. And I believed him. He fooled me. He tricked me. So he'll say shit to you like, you know what, you don't need Alpine. You don't need Alpine. That place. Go to outpatient, go to meetings. Go to a lot of meetings, go to outpatient. That's what your disease will tell you. Get out of here. So you need to get out of here. They told you, well, we don't need to go to that meeting. Go to this meeting instead. Get to that meeting. You know why it's telling you get to that meeting? Because there's some broad there to get your attention. That's why he's telling you get to the meeting. But it sounds good. I'm going to go to that meeting. I'm going to go to outpatient. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave treatment center. That's why you take suggestions from other people, because it will fool you and it will lie to you and it will get you every time. They'll tell you, and you'll hear this in the program, your disease is cutting, baffling, and powerful. My disease is cutting, baffling, and powerful. So is yours. Will beat us every time. But to my sponsor, who knows me and I'm transparent with, guess what? My disease is stupid, transparent, and weak. He can beat it with a glance. But his disease is cutting back the empowerment. My disease is too much for me, but it ain't too much for my sponsor or my we. They can see it. They tell you, hey, guys, don't do that. I better not do that because these people care about me. They can see it and I can't. You got to believe that. You got to believe that we're our own worst enemies. Nobody can put you in a worse shape than you're in. When you arrived here at Alpine Springs, you were running your own life. If your worst enemy was running your life, controlling your life, your worst enemy, you'd had a couple more packs of cigarettes when you got here. Because he couldn't do to you what you did to yourself. He'd get close because he's your worst enemy. But he couldn't get you as bad shape as you were when you got here. Because only we can do what we do to ourselves. Nobody else can do it to us. So when we come in here, we're listening to ourselves. Like Shawna said, these are the hands that try to kill you. So 2 hands at the end of your arms try to kill you. That's what's making you miserable. Mixed with this brain up here, calling the shots, and these hands, that's what we got ourselves. But we're lucky. Because now we get a chance to regroup and redo it. We come in here, we're alive, and the program's simple. Like for me, I am in places, when I'm doing now today, like I was on the front page of the Sunday paper, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Sunday before Christmas. Right, me and my team are on the front page. Gus, director, this and that. I'm like, dude, I was like laying dead on this road with a needle on my neck. Now I'm on the front page of the Sunday paper, and like we thought it was just in Pittsburgh, right? Like, and then we started looking at the computer. We have to pull it up. This story was nationwide. It was in the USA Today, the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, all the way up to San Francisco and up the West Coast. It was on the paper. They called me from the Pennsylvania State Urban Commission of Redevelopment, City Redevelopment, to be a motivational speaker. We're like, what the fuck are they calling me for? And I went up there and I did it. I laid it on them out there, and I'm just a junkie. I'm just an addict. The only reason why I got the doors open that open up around me is because I'm an addict. Everybody knows I'm an addict. Like my buddy said when I was in the newspaper. He said, well, there goes sneaking the fuck up on anybody, Gus. I mean, we can't, how are you going to sneak up on somebody now? Everybody knows I'm an addict. Everybody. You've been arrested, you got felonies. I got felony arrests in the 70s. I haven't been convicted of all my felonies. I got good attorneys. I'm slick. But I had lots of arrests. I had felony arrests in the 70s, felony arrests in the 80s, felony arrests in the 90s, felony arrests in the 2000s. And I pleaded guilty to 6 felonies in 2010. That's 5 decades with felonies in them. Arrests. I'm a director of a program. I open up doors and I do a lot of things. But I had to believe and I had to have some faith that when I was at wherever I was, that I was where I was supposed to be, and I have to bloom where I'm planted. You guys are planted at Alpine Springs. You can bloom right here, right now where you're at. You know how you bloom here? You got everything you need here, guys. You know what you got? You got that smoke tent out there. That smoke tent is a wonderful place. You know why? We start talking with one another. We start interacting with each other. If you don't smoke, pretend like you're smoking. Get your ass out there and talk to somebody. Don't sit around here by yourself with your face in the paper. We never went to the drug dealer to buy information. I go, hey, here, tell me somewhere. I'm buying feelings, right? That's what we always went to the drug man for feelings. We never went to like, I'll buy these drugs and be so much smarter. We don't feel better. So that's what we want to do here, and we get to interact with people and feel. You got them rooms. There's 2 people per room, right? 2 people per room. That means,
unless you're lucky.
Well, no. But you're unlucky if you're in a room by yourself. If you got a roommate, you're in good shape. You know why? Share with your roommate. Don't sit there, you guys, and talk about that chick's ass at night when you're in the room and you girls talk about that other girl's hair. Don't do that. Share with your roommate about how you feel. Say, you know what? I miss my kids. I miss my mom and dad. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get a job. I got these police things coming up. Share that with your thing. Share that information. You'll find out he feels a lot the same as you do. You know, and then you got these techs and counselors walking around. Imitate them. And more than anything else, you know what you got up here? You got the people coming up from detox. When that new guy comes up here and he stinks and he's smelly and he's weird, he sounds funny, and he's scared and he's lonely. And you don't know what's going to happen. And that's up to one of you guys to go over and tell him, hey man, come on, this is where we smoke. You know what I mean? This is what time we eat. Here's the rooms. Here's the smoke tank. Stay away from this tech. He's an asshole, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know what to say to the guy, right? You know, treat him kindly. Share with him what you already know, what you already learned. You got to teach him about the steps or pull out the NA book or the AA book. Just be friendly, be kind. And you'll be surprised. Everything you try to give that new guy, you'll get double. You try to wake away his loneliness, your loneliness will disappear. If you try to take away his sadness, your sadness will disappear. Your anger, anything that you try to give him, you'll get back double. Call me on this. I'll be up again. If you try that and you don't get it back double, say, gosh, you're full of shit. You know what? I'll know you're lying because you didn't do it, because it's an absolute principle of the universe. It can't be changed. It can't be bent. It's like gravity. You try to give that to that new guy, and I guarantee you get it back in return. I got one last little story for you. It's the ice cream cone story, okay? I only tell this once in a while, because it's long and it's lengthy and it's complicated. So can you guys still listen for another 5 minutes, so complicated, long story? Do you think
It's
you
a
guys
good
can hang
one.
on? All right. So I got this sponsor I told you about, and he's always giving me challenges, and he's challenging me, and I'm at this bus stop because the bus didn't go all the way to where it was supposed to. It turned around at the loop and went back to town. I'm about 1.5 miles from where I gotta be, and the bus driver tells me the next bus is gonna come here in 15 minutes and take you the rest of the way. The Carrick Loop. You know what I'm talking about. Sarah knows exactly where it's at. So I'm standing at the Carrick Loop waiting for the next bus. Don't you know that bus comes up and that son of a bitch turns around and he goes back to town too, right? And I'm mad. But he assures me that the next bus goes out to the Whitehall bus station. So I stand there and I wait 20 more minutes for the next bus. I gotta get to this meeting. I gotta open up the home group. The next bus comes. That was going to town. I didn't believe it. I was gonna fight with him on the bus. Like, you gotta go to Whitehall. He said, no, I don't. I'm going to town. Oh man, I was mad. So now I'm all upset. And I don't know what to do. I'm angry. I'm mad. I'm early in recovery. So I said, I'll call my sponsor. So I called my sponsor. I said, Gene, he goes, what's the matter? I said, I got to get to this meeting, blah, 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 and all that. He said, well, you're right where you're supposed to be. I said, bullshit, dude. I'm supposed to be at that meeting. He said, well, if God wanted you at that meeting, you'd be at that meeting. I'm like, I don't give a what God wants. I'm supposed to be at that meeting. He said, God wants you right there where you're at, and that's why you're there, and you better get used to being where you're at, and you better bloom where you're planted. First time I ever heard, I said, what am I supposed to do here? He said, maybe you're supposed to help somebody. So I like this, yeah. Great, a soul in sight, now what? He goes, maybe God got you practicing your patience today, right? So eventually, the next bus comes, and I get to the meeting, and I open it up. So I'm thinking about this. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It's on my mind now. So the next Monday night, before Tuesday, this was Tuesday this happened on, it's Monday night, I'm at this restaurant on the other side of Pittsburgh, and I pull my wallet out to show this guy a Pennsylvania ID, and I leave it there. So the next morning I wake up, I gotta get to that home group and it open up yet. But first, I gotta take 2 buses over to that restaurant to get my ID. So I'm like going the wrong direction on a bus to get my ID that I left behind. And I don't like riding buses. And I'm like, this sucks, but I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm right where I'm supposed to be, going the wrong fucking way at the wrong fucking time. But it's right where you want me to be. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So I go and get my license. I get back on another bus. I'm coming into downtown Pittsburgh. As I'm coming over the bridge to Pittsburgh, I see a bus that goes directly to where I want to go. It goes out the express route, and it gets there. And like my bus turns, I said, holy shit, I'm going to jump on the express bus. I run around the corner, and I get on a bus. And we go over the bridge, and mine's supposed to go through the tunnels, not that way. This bus turns left. And I look up. It says 51C Carrick, Brentwood Loop only. I'm like, how could that be? When I ran around the corner, the bus I wanted pulled out, and the Carrick bus pulled up, and I jumped on the Carrick bus, and it says Brentwood Loop only. I said, I know what this is going to happen. I'm going to get to that loop. And they're thinking I'm going to wait for the next one. Them, I know it's going to town, so I'm walking. It's like, jump off the bus. I started walking, I get like 2 blocks, and the bus goes right by me. I'm like, why didn't you go back to town like you're supposed to? You're supposed to go back to town. I get all the way out to Whitehall where the meeting is. Just as I'm going to the meeting, the other bus goes by. You know, both of them buses went to town last week, and now they don't go to town. I'm getting mad. So I go to the meeting, set up the meeting. I say a quick prayer in the sanctuary. I'm doing this little prayer thing for 5 minutes every day. So I say a prayer. I got to get out and get on a bus. So I come running out. As soon as I come out the door of the church, the bus goes by. I'm like, now I got to wait for the next bus. So I'm standing on the corner, and it's like, there's be 20 minutes. It's like 45 minutes. The bus breaks down. I'm like 45 minutes on this corner. For the next bus, I'm thinking, oh man, I got to get down to the AA central office and change this meeting location, and I got to get another bus downtown to the bus. That's where I'm going, and I'm not getting nowhere. But I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I keep saying this to myself all day. You're right where you're supposed to be, guys. I'm trying to believe it. I don't believe it, because this isn't where I want to be. But I'm trying to believe I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So finally, the bus comes. I get downtown. I get to the AA central office. I'm trying to get back into downtown Pittsburgh to get my bus. I got like maybe 15 minutes to get down there. I'm going to have to wait a long time for another one of them. And this AA guy won't let me change the meeting location and time. I'm like, dude, this is the way it is, and this is all the information I got for you. And finally, he's like, okay, and he lets me go. And I run out. I got to jump on a bus coming from Oakland to town, get downtown. I got like 10 minutes. So I run across the street. This bus passes me up, but there's one right behind. So I get on that bus. I'm going into town. Just as I come over the rise, I see my bus come up and turn and go out of town. I'm like, I just missed that motherfucker. Now I'm sitting downtown. I gotta wait for another bus. I'm pissed off and I'm mad. So I go down to this cultural district. Somebody told me if I sign up for the opera and all that they'll let me be an usher and I get to see this shit for free. So I said, well, I got all that time. I'll go down and sign up. So I go down here, and I'm in this office. There's two people in front of me, and they won't wait on me. Like, I'm getting angry, and I'm getting mad, and finally I'm like, these people, this opera, everybody. I'm going back to my bus stop and wait for my bus. I'm going to home. I had enough. Then I'm walking. I'm like, you're right where you're supposed to be. So I get there 10 minutes early. I said, all right, I'm going to go get an ice cream cone at McDonald's right in front of my bus stop. So I go in there, I get the girl the money. She rings up the cone, and she's standing there staring at me like this. I'm like, well, I'm supposed to get an ice cream cone now, aren't I? And she's like, well, the girl behind me will get it. And I'm like, there ain't nobody back there, honey. So now she's mad at me and gives me this ice cream cone. I'm mad at her. Mad. I walk out with my ice cream cone. I get on the front of the car, make a right, and there's a kid sitting on the fire action. He's like this. I was thinking, poor bastard. So I take like 2 more steps, and I hear a thud, boom. He falls off and hits his head straight on the ground. I can feel the concrete move under my feet. So I look, and he's withering around. So I run over, I get him up. I have one knee down like this, and I get him up here. And I have him up like this, and he's withering all over the place, right? So this other girl comes, and he's squirting blood out of his forehead. So this other girl, she comes. She's a young girl on the street of Pittsburgh. She's like, so Officer Purse, she got a phone out like a walkie-talkie, and she got a handkerchief on his head, like instantly, right? And she's like, I'm on the northwest corner of Smithfield and Fifth Avenue. I have a white male, approximately 140 pounds, with a lacerated contusion on his forehead. Like she's going to school to be a state cop. Like, you know, she's got all this information for the police, right? And then he's still withering, and this little old lady comes up, these deep blue eyes, and she's there, oh, Sonny, please relax a little bit. And he opens his eyes and sees her. And he, like, his whole body just like relaxes. So now we got this kid all under control. He's calm, he's cool, we're talking to him, right? The old lady got him all calmed down, we get his name, and I'm standing there, and I still got the ice cream cone in my hand, right? So now, I got this guy on my thing, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know, should I eat the ice cream cone? There's a big crowd now, there's a big crowd running up there with the ice cream cone. So I'm thinking maybe I ought to throw it out in the street. You know, like, you can't be doing a rescue with ice cream cone in your hand. So this girl I know, who's getting off of methadone, she comes down the street with her 2 kids pushing a stroller. She goes, Gus, what are you doing? I said, hold this ice cream cone. So I give her the ice cream cone. So now the paramedics come and we get the kid back in he goes in the back of the ambulance. You know, we talk to the police. I'm talking to this little old lady and this girl that's going to be a state police call. I said, we're like 18 out of nowhere, boy. We come together, got that thing wrapped up and ready to go. They couldn't believe how we had things under control. And then Mary's talking about how proud she is of me, and I'm telling her how proud I am of her. And she gives me the ice cream cone back. I'm eating my ice cream cone. And I get on the bus, right? I step up on the bus. I was right where the I was supposed to be all day long. I was right where I was supposed to be. And when it comes down time to it, I was exactly where I needed to be. I'm thinking, God, you got it like that? Down to the ice cream cone too? Are you kidding me? I still got the ice cream cone through all that excitement. And since that day to this day, no matter where I'm at, no matter how bad it gets, because it gets chaotic, it gets nuts, it gets crazy, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I can bloom right here where I'm at. I can do something good wherever I'm at. And you guys are here at Alpine Springs today, right? That's where you're at. Don't wait till you get there. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it today. Do it right now. That's the best way to do it in the present. Is be helpful to somebody. Be the best person you can be and be as helpful as you can to the people around you. That is the best way to stay in the moment or in the day. Because any other time we're thinking about how it's going to get better or how we're going to make it better or how we want it better. Just worry about what you're doing now. Am I being kind to that guy? You know, there's a guy in here, I'm sure, when he makes his coffee, it's like a high school chemistry experiment in front of you, right? You're waiting to get your coffee, and he's up there playing around with all this shit, right? You want to chug him, right? Or there's a girl who won't shut up, right? She just keeps talking like Shawna was here. Drive everybody nuts out of their minds, right? Talk to her for a minute. Sit down and listen to her. Sit down with that guy like that. Kid sitting off by himself. He's giving you that funny look, giving you the mean mug. You know, maybe he's just hurting inside. Maybe he isn't mean. You know, go over and find out. If he is mean, go over and try to give him a little bit of attention, a little bit of love. Try and change that. You guys are here and you've got each other. That's the main thing that you got right here. You got one another. You got a warm space and a facility. You know, you got people like Shawna and I that come up all the way from Pittsburgh to talk to you guys, to let you know more than anything that there's hope out there. You know, and we want you to feel that. There's nothing that Shawna's done or I've done that you aren't eligible for. Just like all the drugs. We're all eligible for that pain. We're all eligible for the happiness and the things that come after that. You know, and I want you guys to think about staying in treatment as long as you can, as long as you possibly can. You'll be okay when you get out there. Believe me, it took me a long time to get to the streets. You know, and try to find some people in the rooms and have some faith and believe. Is that about it? Huh? Anybody asked during that silent prayer in the beginning to hear something? Did anybody take time to do that? I ask you guys to ask yourself to let you hear something. If you do that, you know, when you go to a meeting and the speaker sucks, it ain't he sucks, you suck. You know what I mean? That's what happens. You go, he sucks, no, you suck. That's what I tell people. You know, because you got to want to hear something. If you want to hear something, you'll hear something. You know? This is the last thing I want to say to you. Believe in the forgiveness that's out there. I forgive every one of you for everything you've ever done. I forgive everybody here. Unless you stole money off me, then I'm probably not going to forgive you for that. I want my money back, then I'll forgive you. No, I forgive you guys. So, do you forgive these guys for everything I've ever done?
Yeah.
And I forgive you guys for everything you've ever done. Now, damn it, forgive yourselves for the shit that you've done. Quit doing it. Once you quit doing it, it's easy to forgive yourself and believe that you're forgiven. And believe in the programs and the people around you. They'll show up. You believe that they're going to show up, they show up. That's all I got today. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll hang around for a while.